Good morning. My name is Doug, and I'm a recovered drug addict and alcoholic. And I've been thinking about making this video for a while. I've alluded to it a little bit in some of my other videos, but this is the other reality of my life that I kind of feel like I want to put out here. And my motivation for doing that is that what I say might help some other people. I realize that I'm breaking anonymity by doing this, and I'm not here today as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, although I do attend those groups. I'm just here as a person that's sharing his experience, strength, and hope. So I just wanted to be clear. This isn't about me um, trying to be some spiritual guru or something like that. I'm just here to share my experience. And I'm going to have to talk about the 12 steps of primarily Alcoholics Anonymous that's contained in the big book. So I will definitely refer to that a lot. Another text that I'll refer to is the basic text of Narcotics Anonymous. If this way of life is something that you think you might be interested in, I would highly recommend reading both of those books. In addition to those, also the 12 and 12 is going to be some necessary reading. My sober date is April 21st, 2020. I'm going to start today around step 4, probably 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm just going to refer to the steps as the number, so I would highly recommend you can find on the internet which steps I'm talking about. Step 4 is we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. So a couple days ago, I shared my 5th step. We admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. The work that I had done that was prerequisite for that, steps 1, 2, and 3, the preparation steps. I'll do those in a different video, but the step 4 work took me about a month of this time. Now, this is the 4th time that I've done this step. So I've tried to work these steps before, and then I took my will back. That's a step 3 discussion, and I got drunk and I got high again, and it didn't work. Um, I knew the solution was in the steps, and I kept working at them. Spending some time in an institution really allowed me to get some clean time under my belt and let these steps start to have their effect. So I knew the the result that could come from working these steps, especially steps 4 and 5. So by actually staying clean and working them, they could actually have their full effect. And this time, the effect was profound. So let me get a little bit into the work that I did in step 4. I should say before I get started, when I turned my will over in step 3 to the God of my understanding, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I'm not here to tell anyone who or what their God of their understanding should or should not be. That's a very personal decision, but I just need to put that out there that I confess that Jesus is my God of my understanding. So, whoever or whatever that is, that's your business, but I needed to turn my will and my life over to the care of the God of my understanding. And it's kind of like the question, well, what am I turning over? I don't even know who I am or what I'm turning over. Step 4 is where I really start to look at that and expose this contradiction in my life that I had. I felt like I was two different people. I put this facade on, high grade point average earner in school, and electronic technician, a musician I talked about in some of my other videos. And I put this great outside appearance on, but in the background, I'm getting high, I'm drinking, and my life starts to fall apart. And then everyone can see it. So it's like, well, what am I really hiding from? Everyone knows now anyhow. That's why I felt like maybe I should talk about this on YouTube, because I know that there's more people that suffered the way I did and kept these secrets for so long. It's kind of a Narcotics Anonymous slogan, our secrets keep us sick, but it's really true. In the big book, it says resentment is the number one offender. The word resentment means to feel again. So it's like I kept all this toxic poison inside of me, and it kept me sick, and it kept me drinking and using for so long. So when I put this stuff on paper, and it says this over and over in the big book, we put it before us in black and white. We wrote it down, and I get to see and look for myself. This is who I am, and I don't want to be that way anymore. So what do I need to do to get rid of this? Um, make a comprehensive list of the people, institutions, and principles with whom I was angry. I asked myself, why am I angry? There's a 3-column format in the big book. My sponsor had me do that 3-column format and also expand it into columns 4 and 5. So column 4 is, where was I at fault? What did I do? And column 5 is, well, what should I have done instead? As I do those, I start to see that there's character defects that were manifesting in my life: pride, selfishness, fear, anger, resentment, lust, dishonesty. These start to pop out at me. And I can kind of start to see these patterns develop where I've done kind of the same thing, especially in romantic relationships, at jobs, at interactions with other human beings. I start to see these patterns emerge. So that's kind of the work that's done in step 4. Like I said, it took me about a month. I think if someone is in an institution, the structure that's provided in institutions can be helpful. Some people might disagree with that, saying that you can't be searching and fearless. Someone could find your notebook and read it. That's a very personal thing too. But that work is absolutely necessary. I really need to get that stuff down on paper. The second section, so that first section is the resentment. The second section is my fears. So this was something that eluded me for a long time as well. What am I afraid of? Some of these fears are very real and they're very human fears. I'm afraid of falling from heights. I'm afraid of heights. I think that's a healthy fear. Some of the other fears were irrational. I was afraid of hurting my hands. I'm a musician, and electronic technician. My livelihood, the money I make, comes from fine dexterity, use of my hands. I love music. What would my life be like if I couldn't play music? I'm afraid to think about that. What I really realized is my reliance was on myself. It wasn't on God. And then I look back through my life and see, well, God has provided for me my entire life, even when I didn't even know he was there. He was there. Why should I now think that he's just going to abandon me? He's not. And, people began to say it just like that. Well, God got you this far. Do you think he's going to let you go now? I don't think so. So I really had to look at that and see that my reliance was on myself. And the big book uses the term self will run riot. So in a very real way, the 4th step is my manifestation of life run on self. And what did that get me? And maybe I should start to think, well, maybe I can let God run my life. He knows things that I don't know. He knows everything, so that the fears kind of exposed that. I was afraid of people wanted what I had. I was afraid I would not get things that I thought I needed or I wanted: food, shelter, some basic human survival, So in a very real way, and the 12 and 12 talks about this, the 4th step is this manifestation of how my instincts have gone awry and I've overreached or overstepped their intended purpose. So the last section, I've heard it called harms done to others. The big book actually has a sex inventory. So when I look at that, though, I'm going to see I've hurt a lot of people and I've acted out of what I portrayed my character to be, and that's a contradiction. So I'm going to see this contrast between who I want people to think I am and the morals and values that I've been raised with, and then how I've acted contrary to those. And there's this contradiction, and I can't have that contradiction anymore if I want to stay clean and sober. So that's kind of what I did before, was I wrote all this stuff down, and then I just kept acting on those defects and those instincts gone awry. And I got drunk and I got high again. I caused more wreckage. Then I had to write another 4th step. So this is a way to kind of clean. We say we clean house. We trust God. We clean house. We help others. So I'm cleaning house right here. So step 5, I just did this a few days with a pastor. I really need to trust someone to do this step. I went to someone that was ordained and took an oath so I could tell that person some very, very personal, dirty, rotten scoundrel type stuff, that stuff was keeping me really sick. And I got to put this all before him and sit face to face with this man. It took about 2 hours. We prayed. That's the first thing we did. So the 5th step says I admitted to God, to myself, and to this other human being the exact nature of my wrongs. Another thing that I did, and this is a Narcotics Anonymous idea, is to make a list of assets and liabilities, it says. So I'm looking at all this negative stuff. it's not a bad idea to maybe make a list of assets. What are some of the things that I like about myself? I want to keep those. This is an inventory, and I'm exposing this. Okay, I like these things. I want to keep these things. I don't like these things. Let me get rid of these things. So that's kind of what I did. It's a great way to balance that out, and it kind of gives me a little bit of hope moving forward. So, um, the book says that if I drink, I die, and that's basically the conclusion of how I've progressed. And I don't want to do that anymore. So I felt impelled. I've heard it said the fifth step is kind of like vomiting. You don't really want to do it, and it's coming, and you can feel it, and it's unpleasant. But once you do it, you feel great. And I have to say, I just feel lighter. I don't know how else to say it. I feel this joy, this peace, and this freedom that I've never felt before. And the book says, that we'll feel that we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. We'll be able to look the world in the eye, and this peace, the spiritual experience begins to really, really happen in this step. And as I work this step, and we prayed and closed, and the book says to take an hour of quiet, meditation, and that I'll feel the nearness of God in a way I've never felt before. And that's true. That's what happened. These are some promises. You hear the promises in meetings that are read, and those are the 9-step promises typically. But the 5th step has promises too. If I do the work, that will happen. And that's my experience. And that's what the book said is exactly what happened. So it's like I'm looking at myself in a mirror. I exposed these contradictions. I trusted in this man. I took my hour of quiet meditation, and then the book moves me right into step 6 and 7. So these are really kind of a unit, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And this is where I'm getting right with myself. Steps 1, 2, and 3, I got right with God. Steps 4, 5, 6, and 7, I get right with myself. And then on a different video, I'll talk about the later steps. 8 and 9, I get right with other people. Steps 10, 11, 12 are maintenance and growth of my spiritual condition. So I have to become willing to let God remove these defects from me that I've omitted or objectionable, these things I don't like. So I have to pray for willingness if I don't have it. And that's what kept me sick before, is I held on to some of those defects and continued to act on them. So now, in the light of my past experience, I have some evidence I can look at and see, well, this is what it's got me in the past. Do I want to continue to live like that or not? It's really up to me. So I can pray and ask for willingness if I don't have it. This time, it was just so blatant to see all the pain and suffering that I'd caused and experienced. So I'm like, yeah, God, take this stuff away. I can't live with it anymore. Please take it away. If I say I'm willing, I've looked back over the work I've done in the first 5 steps. I've built a solid foundation. Okay, I'm ready to move forward. Right into step 7, there's a prayer. It says, my Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character, which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and to my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. I'm sorry. And I was told early on to substitute each character defect. I'm now willing. I pray that you now remove from me the character defect of pride, which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and to my fellows. So I did that for each character defect. And I actually had a list, and I just listed those character defects on the list to make it a little bit easier, that I could specifically pray and have him remove each one of those. So now this is a daily affair too. Now I can pray in the morning and say, and I do pray every morning. I say the 3rd step prayer, which is on page 63 in the big book. But if there's a character defect that's really rearing its head in a specific day, I have a tool now. I can go and pray to God and say, this character defect it's really causing some problems today. Can you please remove it? I'm willing that you should remove it. I'm going to ask you, can you please remove it? I don't want to pay the cost of acting on this anymore. And he may or may not remove it, and that's in any given day. So if I'm willing, I find a lot of the times he will remove them. Some of them he'll remove right on the spot, and they just are gone. In the same way that my drinking and drug use was gone, I became willing in the first step to have him remove those, and he did. So he can and will certain times just pluck them right out of me. I have to say my anger is one of those character defects that he just kind of took from me. I became willing, and he just took it, and I don't have to act on it anymore. Now, if I want to pick it back up, I know the price that I'll have to pay. and that price is a very high price. So after I was done with this 4, 5, 6, 7, I called my sponsor. I called a few other people in the program, and I just told them what my experience was. Now I'm making this video. Also, I feel like I wanted to share this. So my call to action, if this video helped you in any way, like it, subscribe if you want to hear more of my experience in the program. Again, I'm not representing Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous or Cocaine's Anonymous as a member of those groups. I'm just an alcoholic and a drug addict. My clean and sober date is April 21st, 2020, so I haven't had to put any chemicals or alcohol in my body since that date. And my only advice or suggestion I could give is find some like-minded people. Look around and find people that are like you. That's what I did, and those people helped me. I call those people. Those are good people now that I have in my life that I didn't have before. So I surround myself with those people, and life is pretty good today, I have to say, and that's only by the grace of God that I'm even here speaking to you about this. So I really thank you for listening. Have a great day.